welcome to another episode of Britt Space. I'm doing another Britt chat in my closet. You guys really seemed to like this setup last time, so I decided to roll back in my closet and set up in here. So today I'm just sharing on a topic that I don't necessarily feel equipped to give advice about, but I get this question all the time, constantly, and I just feel like I need to share my heart. So just know that this is coming from a place of me sharing. I by no means am an expert or have my life all together or am coming from a place of perfection. I just feel like if something I say or part of my experience can help someone else, then I'm willing to share. So I get a lot of messages and DMs about how to get over the ending of a marriage or a relationship. I'll read messages like, Brittany, I just broke up with my boyfriend of 6 years, or my marriage of 8 years just ended and I'm just heartbroken and I don't know what to do. Can you give me advice? And like I said, I feel so unequipped to give like advice, but I can just share what I went through. So there's really no manual, there's no book, there's no how-to on what to do when your husband leaves you or what to do when your marriage ends. There really, I mean, I guess technically there is, but I remember when everything first happened just thinking, I need like a manual. I need like some sort of book or some step-by-step guide that will tell me what to do and how to get through it. And it doesn't exist. So I guess my one advice would be to know that you have to work through the feelings that you're feeling when you're feeling them, and there's really no way around it. So when a relationship ends, it's a lot like any sort of loss. It is a loss. And I think that when I first went through everything, I wasn't realizing that this was a loss. I was just kind of in shock and just like, okay, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to do this. Not realizing that no matter how your marriage ends, it's still a loss. And you will go through those stages of grief. You know, you go through the anger and the denial. Know that it's going to be a process. This is not going to be an overnight thing where you're just going to wake up and be fine the next day. It's going to be a process, and it's going to be something that you're really going to have to do some work in. Second bit of advice of how to work through it is to take the time to think about what you're feeling and to work through it, whether it's through journaling. I did a lot of journaling. I need to get back to journaling, but in the beginning I did a lot of journaling. Like just anytime I was feeling frustrated or sad or just anything, any sort of thing I was feeling, I would journal it, because just getting it out was helpful. Like just getting it out of my brain and being able to read it. I actually, full disclosure, I have a journal post called Everyone's Carving Pumpkins and I'm Just Trying to Survive. And that basically, so this post was the year that my marriage ended. It was October, and I remember just walking around seeing everyone do all these normal things in life, like carving pumpkins and going to the pumpkin patch and doing all these like family things. And I remember just, it was like an out-of-body experience where I was just like, what is that? Because I feel like life is such a struggle and everyone else's world is just going on, and I feel like I'm an alien and I'm just like trying to survive and everyone else is just living this life. And just writing that out and reading that journal entry now, being in a completely different place and feeling so much more healed, it's interesting to look back on. But I think that if I hadn't gotten those, if I had not taken the time to journal and get those feelings out, I don't think I could have really worked through them as well, because sometimes reality smacks you in the face, but you don't always know how to deal with it. So in the beginning, and like I said, the loss of my marriage was very much so a grieving process for me. I remember things as simple as taking the kids to the park on a Saturday. I would wear my sunglasses and I would cry. Like I would see families roll up and dads there and, you know, two parents, and they were drinking coffee and like their kids were playing, and it was just this life that I had for so long that wasn't my reality anymore. And I'm not saying this to like get some sort of sympathy or sob story. I'm just saying it, just coming to the realization of what is versus what was is really difficult. So back to the advice, I would say journal and work through some of those feelings, and also building a support system. So whether you're whether it's family or friends, I think admitting that you can't do it alone, especially if you have kids, and you're dealing with the end of a marriage or end of a relationship, getting help is very crucial. Dealing with loss and anxiety and grief on your own is hard, but doing that as a parent is like the impossible. Waking up every morning and knowing that you have to be there for your kids and you have to be okay enough to take care of them can be exhausting. And I know that firsthand because at the beginning it was just, I was taking it day by day. I mean, I was being extremely strong because my personality is very much so survival mode. You know, I've always been that way, and if there's some sort of tragedy or trauma, I instantly go into this like survival mode. I'm going to take care of everything. And it's usually months after where I feel it the most. Like, for example, when my dad passed away, I immediately went into this like, okay, let me make sure everyone around me is good. Let me, you know, help my mom and do this and like get the funeral arranged. And like, I went through this whole thing, and then it wasn't till like a month after everything was done that the loss set in, and I was like, whoa, I am not okay. So I think it was kind of similar with my marriage ending, where in the beginning it was just survival mode. What am I going to do? Like, let me try to make this world as normal as possible for my kids. And the other feelings didn't really start to creep until later. So back to the advice, building your support system, whether it's a friend or family or whatever it is, admitting that you need help and admitting that you need a tribe is okay. I think at the beginning I think it was pride. I was very much so like, I got it, I can take care of it, I'm good, nothing's gonna change, it's totally fine. And then I got to the point where I was like, no, I need help, and like I need a support system, and I had to reach out and just admit like, this is where I am and I need a village right now. Yeah, definitely build your support, even if it's only one or two people, or if you're somewhere where you don't have family or friends. There's actually a lot of online groups for single parents that can be really helpful. So I would just say research that and join a group. Whatever you do, join something, get a group, get a friend, get a support, something, so that you're not just on your own. My next bit of advice is therapy. I've always been a proponent for therapy. Whether you're going through some trauma or not, I think therapy is just really good for everyone. Whether you go once a month, once a year, once a week, I think it's just like a good mental health checkup. You know, we go to the doctor for checkups for our body. Why not do the same for our minds? But especially when you go through trauma and you go through a loss of a relationship or a marriage, I think therapy is really, really important. And so I will say it took me a while to prioritize that, because I've gone to therapy off and on, but in the moment I wasn't in therapy and trying to take care of my kids and work and do all these things. I was just like not making it priority, and then I got to the point where I was like, I need to go to therapy to help. I just feel like therapy, it's not the fixer. It's not like it's just gonna solve everything. It just helps. It helps to talk to someone who's objective, and it helps to talk to someone who has experience when it comes to that kind of thing. So that's my little therapy plug. Next, I would say doing your best to focus on you and your family and not what people are saying or what people are thinking. And I know this is so hard, especially if you have been in a marriage and your marriage is ending. You may have friends and family and people that have been in your life through this whole relationship, and it's really weird and scary to be in this vulnerable space where you're like, okay, now I have to tell everybody, and what are people going to say? What are they going to think about me? And I know I for sure went through that. I just had this sense of like, in the beginning, just feeling really ashamed. Like I didn't even want to go to church, which sounds really bad, but it's just like all these places and things that I had done in my married, it was weird to do by myself. Like it was, like I said, dealing with a loss. Like it was just weird, like traveling alone, going to places. I just felt very exposed. And I remember sitting at home one Sunday, just kind of crying to myself and praying. And I should have been at church, but I wasn't, because I was just like embarrassed to go. And I remember God, just hearing his voice and his encouragement say to me, like, do not let the opinion of other people stand in the way of what you know you need right now and where you should be. Why are you ashamed? This is your story. This is part of your journey. You have nothing to be ashamed of. And so I remember just suddenly feeling this like huge weight lifted and being like, okay, I'm gonna roll, and to church, and like, yeah, everyone's probably gonna look and be like, you know, and obviously my situation is different because it was all very public, and a lot of my struggle has been public, which for sometimes I've been kind of like, oh, this sucks, but then also it's helped me kind of get over some of worrying about what people think. So back to the advice. Do your best to not focus on what people are saying or you know, the chatter. Do your best to focus on what you need and what your family needs and what feels right, and surround yourself with the people that feel like support to you. And this is also another area that I was very naive in, because I just never gone through this before, and I just kind of assumed like, oh, you know, all the friends you have, like, no one will pick sides, and like, it's just not a side thing. It's just like, well, I'll just, you know, I just have these rose-colored glasses, I think, and that's just kind of how I am. And I came to realize that, yeah, some people do pick sides, and like, there are some relationships and friendships that won't be the same, and you might have to find a new tribe of people to hang out with. And like, going from a married to single parent is a different group, and I think it was a little hurtful at first because I was just like, whoa, like, all these people that I feel like I was cool with, I'm not anymore, and like, it's weird now and awkward. But the people that are truly meant to be by your side, they'll stick with you. And the other people, I mean, nothing against them, but it is hard, you know, honestly, it is hard to deal with sometimes, and sometimes people don't know how to work through that. They don't know how to navigate the awkwardness, or the just, it's very awkward, it's very hard, and so sometimes people just opt to peace out instead of staying and dealing with like the messiness of life. And I totally get that, because life is messy, and sometimes you're not always in the place to deal with other people's mess, as bad as that sounds. So, I feel like my advice is like, blah, blah, blah. But basically, try not to worry so much about what people are thinking of you, and focus on the people that are in your corner and your healing, because you can't really control what people are going to say or what they think, or the story, you know, like what really happened and all that. I think that that's not always important, and the people that care about you and are meant to be in your corner, they will understand and they will know. I think in the beginning, knowing that it is going to feel like survival mode, and just working through that, and then realizing that you will get to thrive mode eventually. You will not always be in this place of utter chaoticness and craziness. And for me, it was just diving into my relationship with God, which has faltered a lot. Here, let me just say, here's a quick plug, because I think that sometimes when people hear, oh, relationship with God, or like, he's my rock, like, it just means life is perfect, and it means that you're always just going to be on this perfect little road of following God. And I'm just going to be honest to say, I've had a lot of ups and downs with my faith. There have been a lot of times where I've been very strong in my faith, and then there's been times where I've not been strong in my faith at all, and I've questioned a lot, and I've doubted. And that's why we need God. Like, it's not... like, following God doesn't mean you have to be perfect or without wrongdoing. That's actually the opposite. The reason why I need God and I need a relationship with Him is because I am so imperfect, and I mess up all the time. I make giant gaping mistakes all the time. I'm not always kind. I'm not always gracious. I'm just not. Well, I'm imperfect. We're all imperfect. And so I feel like when my marriage ended, I definitely woke up and dug deeper into my relationship with God, which it had really been faltering for years. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I was kind of in this like mediocrity place with it, and like I said, your relationship with God, it has ups and downs. You know, it's not like when you decide to follow God, it's just gonna be this perfect road, and you're never going to falter, or never gonna make mistakes, you're never gonna doubt or lose your way. But that is actually when I got this tattoo I have right here, these wings, because when everything first happened, I just wanted to hide. I remember just thinking, I just want to hide. I want to hide behind something. And so I was reading the book of Psalms, and I was reading a verse that talks about, and He will cover you with His feathers. His faithfulness will be a shield. And just like thinking of Him shielding me and like covering me with His wings, I don't know, I just needed it tattooed on me. And it was one of those, like, all my tattoos have honestly been pretty much spur of the moment. I just want to get them kind of tattoos. And so I got this to remind me of that verse, and to remind me that I can hide behind Him, and that He is a covering, and that no matter what happens, You know, he's never promised life to be perfect and without trial, but he's always promised to be there and to cover you and surround you when you need that. So anyway, that's kind of explains the tattoo I got. I got that literally like a month after everything went down. Okay, so back to the advice. I feel like I'm all over the place. I hope you guys are getting something out of this. But ultimately, I just want to encourage you, if you are going through it right now, where you have just, you know, your marriage of however many years has just ended, whether it was your choice or their choice or a mutual thing, I just want to encourage you to know that this is part of your story and your journey, but this doesn't define you. This is not the end. This is not the period of a sentence. This is a pause. It's a comma. It's a end. And the unknown is terrifying. Trust me when I say it is terrifying to not know. I have always been a planner. I've always kind of felt like I had an idea of what life would look like, and these past couple years I've really had to learn to not know and to just kind of go with where my life is going, and it's really scary and it can feel really unnerving, but know that you aren't alone and know that it won't always feel this heavy. I don't even know if this is advice or just encouragement, but dive into you. A lot of times when people ask me, like, how do you move forward? What do you do? Like, how do you focus? What do you do? I think for me, the first thing was to make sure my kids were okay and to make sure that there was a stability for them. And next was to focus on me and my mental health, because I knew that if I was a mess, they would be a mess. They can always sense it. And so I didn't really hide that from them, but I also tried to show them that, yes, mommy's sad, and yes, you know, we're going through some serious changes right now, but we're going to get through this together and we're going to be okay. I think not hiding your emotions from your kids, I mean, not just being a mess all the time, obviously, but like letting them in on some of that is really important, because I think it's important for kids to see, you know, as hard as it is, that, you know, there is going to be loss in life. And like when I lost my dad, I remember I cried, and I didn't like force Audrey to watch me cry, but I did cry, and she saw me, and I told her, you know, I'm mommy's sad, and you know, when you get sad, you cry. And like, I think it's important for kids to see true emotions and to see that. Obviously you want to shield, you know, drama and things that they should not see. You know, you don't want to just throw everything out there, but I think it is important for kids to see that even grown-ups cry and they get sad, and you know, life isn't always perfect and we work through it together. I will say I'm really thankful that even when I was married, I didn't completely lose myself. I have always had goals and aspirations. I've always held on to things that I feel like make me Brittany. And so I was thankful for that. But you know, sometimes depending on how long you were married, it is kind of like a new identity, you know, going from that. It is scary. Whether you are widowed or divorced or whatever, like I said, it's a loss. It's a loss. And so navigating the new you is crazy. And I feel like I've gone through so many transformations, and I'm still transforming. But I think we're all transforming. We're all growing. We should all be constantly growing. But I think the more I dove into just what makes me feel like me, self-care. I mean, that word is so overused, I feel like, but no, it is true. I think that it took me losing my marriage to realize that I wasn't always the best at taking care of myself. I take care of other people really well. I focus on other people really well. And this is not a humble brag, but I think it exposed me, like, Brittany, do you take care of you? Do you know who you are? Do you know what you want to do in life? Like, that was really scary. And I think, running from that would have made the process go longer. So I guess if I have any advice in that area is to dive into who you are, and don't be afraid to find out who you are. And it might be a journey. It might feel scary. You might feel very raw and exposed, but don't shy away from that. I also think I get asked a lot where people are like, how did you know that it was like the time to walk away or to stay? And I don't feel equipped to give you guys advice. I can't speak for your relationship and for your marriage. I can't tell you you should leave or you should stay. I don't feel like I can do that because I don't know your situation. Ultimately, for me, I take my marriage vows very seriously, and I think if it had been my choice, I probably would not have walked away. But like I said before, when someone tells you they're unhappy and they do not want to be in this relationship anymore, I don't think it's healthy to grab on and hold on when someone is telling you that they don't want that. I think that is unhealthy. I will say that. So I think releasing that and allowing that person to go the way that they want to go can sometimes bring more peace than struggling to hold on to something that someone doesn't want. Do I still believe in love and marriage and all that stuff? Yes, I do. Really appreciate you guys reaching out and just all the support and awesome comments and love and positivity. I always think twice about making these kind of videos because, you know, I don't really like to feed drama or keep sounding like a broken record, you know, like I'm like, you know, it's in the past now, so I don't want to constantly keep making videos where people are like, okay, we've heard it. But like I said, I've gotten so many questions about this. I have messages from people that are hurting and really want to know and hear. And so I hope that this video was encouraging to know that there is hope. And, you know, maybe your marriage isn't ending. Maybe you're just struggling, or maybe your relationship isn't over. Maybe you're just going through a really hard time. Hang in there. Know that it will not always be this hard. Communicate, you know. Don't be afraid to say how you feel. Don't be afraid to get help. Don't be afraid to go to counseling. Don't be afraid of those things. Thank you guys so much for watching. I love the Brit Chat series. Please leave in the comments if you like this series and if there are other topics that you want me to talk about. Like I said, I'm not an expert on any of these things, but I can share my own experience. So comment below any other topics that you guys would love to hear about. Thanks for watching, and I will talk to you on the next video. Bye.
Te desvestiste, lo hicimos en la habitación.